The greatest magic trick ever performed is happening inside your head. Every choice you make, every opinion you hold, they feel completely your own until you look closer. In 2016, researchers ran a strange experiment. They told participants they were interacting with an advanced fMRI scanner that could read and influence their thoughts. The massive machine looked incredibly high-tech, scientific, and completely real. There was only one problem. It was broken, completely broken. But the participants didn't know that. Using clever illusion techniques borrowed from stage magic, the researchers made it seem like the machine was correctly predicting their thoughts. And after repeated demonstrations, something strange started happening. Participants began saying things like, "That wasn't my thought. The machine put it there." At first, it sounds absurd. How could anyone believe a broken MRI machine was controlling their mind? But neuroscientist Amir Raz argues this is exactly the point. And it becomes even more interesting when you know who he is. Before becoming a neuroscientist, Amir Raz worked for years as a professional stage magician and mentalist. Someone who didn't just study deception, but actively used it to manipulate attention, belief, and perception. Now he uses neuroscience to explain why the brain is so easy to mislead. In his book, The Suggestible Brain, he focuses on a simple but powerful idea. The brain is constantly trying to explain what is happening to us, and sometimes it fails. To understand this, we need to look at something called the credit assignment problem. Imagine two thieves trying to open a safe. One holds a flashlight. The other knows the combination. They fail the first time. Then they switch roles. This time the safe opens, and the man holding the flashlight says, "See, you were holding it wrong before." It's funny because we can clearly see the mistake. The flashlight did nothing. The combination did everything. But the brain makes similar mistakes all the time. When something happens inside us, a sudden anxiety, a mood shift, a craving, a thought, we don't always find the real cause. We build a story instead. We assign credit to whatever feels most available. We don't just explain reality. We reconstruct it. This same mechanism helps explain hypnosis. Most people think hypnosis is some kind of mind control, but it's not. It starts with extremely simple suggestions. Your eyes feel heavy. Your muscles relax. You feel calm. These are things that naturally happen anyway. But once your brain starts linking them to the hypnotist, something changes. It starts assigning the wrong source. And from there, more complex suggestions become easier to accept. Not because someone is controlling your mind, but because your brain is filling in the gaps. This brings us to a famous story. Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist, once experienced hypnosis. After the session, he suddenly felt an urge to walk around a chair before sitting down. It felt natural, automatic, like his own decision. But it wasn't, and he experienced it as free will. That's the unsettling part. Not that we can be influenced, but that we don't always recognize influence when it happens. The same pattern appears in another case described by Amir Raz. His son once believed he had swallowed a broken piece of knife. Within minutes, his body reacted strongly. Pain, fear, difficulty breathing, panic. The symptoms were real, but medical tests showed nothing was there. No knife, no injury. And as soon as he learned that, the symptoms disappeared. His belief had created a physical reaction, not because danger was real, but because the brain treated it as real. This is the power of expectation, and it goes even further. Research shows that under the right conditions, people can develop memories of events that never happened. Childhood experiences that are never real. Stories that feel vivid and detailed. Events the mind fully accepts as truth, not because they happened, but because they were suggested. By this point, a pattern becomes hard to ignore. We like to think we are rational thinkers, independent minds, controllers of our own decisions. But much of what we experience is shaped by invisible influences. Context, expectation, suggestion, and the brain's constant need to explain itself. Here is the key takeaway from the suggestible brain. Suggestibility is not a rare trait. It is not something only weak-minded people have. It is a basic feature of how the human brain works. That doesn't mean we don't have free will. And it doesn't mean we are controlled. It means something more subtle. The mind is not a perfect mirror of reality. It is an active storyteller. And sometimes it tells a story that feels completely real, even when it isn't. Because the most powerful influences are the ones we never notice at all. And that is the central idea of Amir Raz's work. What we believe doesn't just shape what we think. It shapes what we perceive, far more than we realize.